In this lesson, we are working to find 1/10, 1/100th, more or less, and we're going to see what that looks like. So the first part, we have some examples shown with models. These models should be familiar to us because we've seen a lot of these models. We've seen where the ones are represented by the flat, the tenths are represented by the rods, and the hundredths are represented by those little units, okay? So if I'm looking at the first example on the top left, right here, it says find 1/10 more and 1/100th less than 1 and 75/100. So if I have 1 and 75/100, that's what's modeled. Notice how this one here is a little different color. Do y'all see that in your book?
Yeah.
If you're on the right page? Okay, so this one's a little bit different. If I am adding 1/10 more, I'm adding a 10th rod, and my 10th number here, which is a 7, is just going to go up to an 8. That's the only thing that changes in my entire number. If I take 100th less, what am I doing? I'm taking away one of these hundredths. Instead of having a 5 in the hundredths place, I now have a 4 in the hundredths place. Okay, do y'all see how kind of simple that is? You're literally just adjusting it. You're taking it away visually, but you're either moving it up, you're moving that digit up or down 1, depending on which place value you're working with. In the second example, it says find 1/10 more and 1/100th less than 2 and 9/10. So notice how this one I have 2 holes here.
Thank you.
Over here I have 9/10, and I want to find 1/10 more. So if I add a 10th here, now how many tenths do I have? 10 tenths. What is 10 tenths equal to? 1 whole, which is why it's showing you this blue square, my blue flat representing 1 whole, and it's circling all of these in blue to show that I'm getting rid of all of my individual tenths and I'm changing it to a whole. So it's now going to be 3.0. Okay, over here, if I had 2 and 9/10, I want to take away 100th. Well, if I don't have any hundredths to take away from, what do? I got to borrow, right? I got to kind of regroup. So I'm going to take a 10th away here. So my 10th is now going to go down to 8 so that I can have 10 hundredths, so that I can subtract 1 from the 10, and I'm left with 9. So let's see what this looks like. And we can also do, because we know how to add and subtract decimals with the standard algorithm too. So what would that look like if I have 1/10 more than 1 and 26/100ths? I'm adding 1 to the tenths column, right? So yeah, Kingston, say that again.
1 and 36.
Yeah, 1 and 36/100ths. I'm adding 1 to here. Okay, here, number 2 says 1/10 more than 9/10. Well, if I add 1 to that, what's going to happen?
It's going to turn into a whole.
It's going to turn into a whole, so it's going to be 1.0. Because if I add 1 to this, imagine this for a second. I'm adding 1/10 to it. This becomes a 0. I carry that 1. So this is like our standard algorithm. That's how we're typically used to adding, is regrouping. Okay, 1/100th less than 4/9. Okay, if I'm going to take away 100th, I have nothing to take that 1 away from. So what do I have to do, Katie?
Borrow?
Oh, before I do that, I borrow. So I'm going to borrow from the 9. That leaves me with an 8 in the tenths place. I do need 0 the hero there so that I can make it a 10. And then 10 minus 1 is 9. So this is what I'm left with, 4 and 8900. Okay, number 4, this time we didn't practice with the thousandth, but do you think you can do it?
Yes.
It's kind of the same thing. So this says 1,000th more than 2 and 518 thousandths. Where am I adding that 1 to? Which digit?
8.
To the 8. I'm going to add 1,000th to the 8. So that's going to make my new number 2.519. I'm adding it, not taking it away. All right, are we feeling okay? Do y'all want to try the rest of this page with your groups?
Yes.
Okay, and then we'll check it.
Yes.
All right, go ahead and try. We'll check. I'll give you about 2-3 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and check 5, 6, 7, and 8. On number 5, it says less than, so I'm taking away a tenth. So if I have 3 tenths and I take away a tenth, I now have 1 and 2 tenths. On number 6, my keyword is more than, so I'm going to add a tenth. If I had 2 tenths and I'm adding a tenth, now I have a 3 in the tenths place. So my final answer is 3 and 327 thousandths. No other digits are changing there. On number 7, where it says more than, I'm adding 1/100th to my hundredths digit. What digit is in the hundredths place? A 4. So I just add 1 to that. So now my new number is 6.55, 6 and 55 hundredths. And on the last one, this is where it gets, where you have to do a little bit of work or a little bit of rethinking because you have to do some borrowing and regrouping. Number 8 says 100th less than 7 and 3/10. Well, if I plug in a 0, the hero there, I can see that I need to borrow from the tenths column. I'm going to pull that out so that I'm left with 2 tenths, and I can have 10 hundredths. Now I can take away 100th from 10. That leaves me with 7 and 29 hundredths. There is nothing wrong with you writing it out in the standard algorithm format, the one that we practiced last week. Okay, you can work that out if that's easier for you to see visually. All right, let's move on and look at the next page. Okay, it says reasoning on this page. So I want you to try to look at them without working them out on the paper. Okay? These are basically the same thing that we just did, but I want you to try without working it and just see if you can. Now, if you have to work it out just so you can visually see what's happening, it's okay. But try doing it without. So I'm going to have yellow table. I want you guys to do 11. Blue table, y'all are going to do 12. Purple, I want you to do 13. Peach, I'm going to have y'all do 14. Mint, I'm going to have y'all do 15. And then everybody else do 16 when you're done with the one that I assigned you. Okay? I will do 9 and 10 with you when we check them. On number 9, I have 1/10 less than. So less than means I'm going to look at the tenths column. I have a 2 here. What is 1/10 less than 2 tenths? If I take away a tenth from 2 tenths, how many tenths do I have left? 1. Yeah. So my final answer is going to be a 1 in the tenths place. So it's going to be 5 and 165 thousandths. Every other number stays the same in this one. The only thing changing is that tenths digit. Okay, number 10, 100th less than 4 and 81 hundredths. Okay, I'm taking away a hundredth from how many hundredths did I have? 1. So if I take away a hundredth, what do I now have? 4 and 80 hundredths, or 4 and 8 tenths is also okay. You could write this too. Either one of those is fine. All right, yellow table, what'd y'all get on number 11? 1/10 less than 1 and 2 hundredths.
0 and 92.
Yeah, 92 hundredths. They had to do some borrowing and regrouping. So if you have it like this, having 1/10 is like having 10 hundredths. But I gotta borrow and regroup. So that's gonna make this, oh, wait, hold on. I'm up here. I'm doing the wrong thing. There we go. I have 1 and 2 hundredths, and I'm subtracting this. So I'm going to have 2 here, but I got to borrow from the wholes so that I can make 10 tenths, and then I can take away a tenth. That leaves me with 9. Okay, what about number 12, blue table? What did y'all get? 100th more.
7, 8.
What's my final answer here, blue table?
7 and 809 thousandths.
I don't think I should have a 7 in the whole number place because I only have a 2.
What number? 16?
I need to have 100th more than 9 hundredths. So yes, 2 and 809 thousandths, because this is going to have to go up to 1. If I'm adding 1 here, what happens here? I now have 10, and I carry the 1 over, which makes that and 8. Do y'all see how that turned in? 79 bumped up to 80 basically. Okay. All right. Purple table. What'd y'all get on number 13?
We got 7 and 195.
Very good. 7 and 195 thousandths. Peach table. What'd y'all get on number 14?
We got 8 and 613 thousandths.
Perfect. 613 thousandths. And then mint table. What did you guys get on number 15?
We got 7 and 635 thousandths.
Exactly. Very good. And then what did everybody get on number 16?
6 and 449 thousandths.
Very good. Y'all are amazing. And we are just rolling right through this. Okay, number 17 says the thermometer. We're putting it in word problem form now. I'll wait till side conversations end in 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you. Number 17 is a word problem. Could you read this word problem for us, please?
The thermometer shows the outside temperature after an hour. The temperature decreases to 0.1 Fahrenheit. What is the temperature now?
Okay, so that keyword here, decreases, means what? Subtract or add?
Subtract.
I'm subtracting, and it's 1/10 of a degree Fahrenheit. So if this is what I'm starting with over here, and I'm taking away a tenth, I have 68.2 minus 1/10. What's my new temperature going to be?
68 and 110.
Very good. Degree Fahrenheit. Perfect. Don't forget your label. Okay, number 18. Which result does not belong with the other 3? So looking at the 4 things that are listed here. Whoops. I'm going to undo that. On number 18, which result does not belong with the others? If I have 1,000 more than 2 and 166 thousandths, what's my new number going to be?
2 and 167 thousandths.
Yep. If I have 100th less than 2 and 168 thousandths, what is 100th less than 600ths here?
2 and 158.
Yeah. Yep. Very good. Okay. The next one, 1/10 less than this tenth here. If I have 2 tenths, I take away a tenth. What's my new number going to be? 2
and 167,000.
Beautiful. And then last, 100th more than, if I have 500ths, what does that change to?
2 and 167,000.
So which one doesn't belong?
The second one.
The second one. It's the only one that doesn't match. Okay, on number 19, it's just wanting me to explain. It just wants you to understand what happens if you're finding 1,000th more than a number that has a 9 in the thousandths place. So imagine that for a second. I have a 9 in the thousandths place, and I'm adding 1,000th to that. What's happening? Y'all just talk me through that. What is going to have to happen?
You're going to have to carry
I got to carry.
your 1 and turn the...
Because this is 10, right?
yeah.
So
So carry.
10, so if I change this and I carry a 1 over here, then I'm going to have a 1 in the hundredths place now. Is that right? Yeah, good. Okay, you don't have to write anything there. I just kind of wanted to discuss that one. All right, moving down, which is greater? Number 20, you have 1/100th more than 7 and 32 hundredths, or 1/10 more than 7 and 32 hundredths. Which one is greater? Circle the one you think. And then 21, which of those two options would be greater? Circle the one that you think. Okay, looking at number 20, if I add, this is more than, if I add 100th, this one's going to be 7 and 33 hundredths. 1/10 more is going to make this one 7 and 42 hundredths. So I hope you guys circled the second one. The next one we're talking less than, so we're taking numbers away. I'm taking 1,000th away from 8 and 6/10. This one I probably needed to put in a couple of zero the heroes here so that I could see what's happening when I take away 1,000th from that. I'm going to have to do some borrowing and regrouping. so that I can see that when I do this, I end up with 8 and 599 thousandths. Okay, 100th less than 8 and 60 hundredths would be 8 and 59 hundredths. Which one is the bigger answer? Yeah, the first one. Because if I plug in a 0 here, that's technically 590 thousandths that I'm comparing to 599 thousandths. Don't forget 0 of the heroes. He's still really important in what we're doing today. Caden?
I know I bring this up a lot, but why don't, instead of just like working out the whole problem, since the 8 and 6 tenths on those problems are the same, why don't you just like
Use your knowledge of place value to help you determine the answer? You should. And I think that that's a great thing. I think you should do that. Okay, so what he's trying to ask is, okay, well, I noticed, Miss Watson, that 8 and 6 tenths is the same here and here. Okay, if 100th I know is it bigger or less than 1,000th? This is bigger, right? Okay, because it's like 10 thousandths. If I take this away from this number, I'm going to have a smaller number because I'm taking away more from this amount versus just one tiny little thousandth away from the same amount. Do y'all see? Same thing up here. You have the same number that you're starting with. If I add 1/10 to this versus only one measly little hundredth, which one's obviously going to be bigger? The 1/10. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the difference between like a dime and a penny. If you think about money, 1/10 is like a dime because there's 10 dimes in a dollar. 1/100th is like a penny because there's 100 pennies in a dollar. So you can think of it like that too. All right, moving down. Let's look at number 22. It says runner A finishes a race in 12 and 900 seconds. Runner B finishes 1/10 second later than runner A. Runner C finishes 1/100th of a second earlier than runner A. What is the winner's time? Okay, this can be kind of confusing, so you have to read carefully. All right, first, we know that runner A finishes in this amount of seconds, okay? So this is A. Runner B finishes 1/10 of a second later. So am I going to add on time to what I, okay.
Yes.
So that's going to be 12 point what?
10.
9. Yep. You want to leave the 9 because it's 1/10 of a second later than runner A. Okay, now runner C finishes 100th of a second earlier than runner A. So if I'm looking back at this amount here, what is 100th of a second earlier? Am I taking away time or adding more time? Taking away time. And I'm taking away 100th here. So what am I left with?
12 and 1800.
Close. 12 and 800ths. Because I only have 900ths and they finish 100th of a second earlier. So I'm taking away just 100th. Okay, now can I answer the question? What is the winner's time?
12 and 8 tenths.
Yep, well close. 12 and 800ths. Yes.
Can you just be C?
And we're doing seconds, SEC. Okay, y'all try 23. Read it together, break it apart, see if y'all can solve it. And then we'll talk about it. Okay, your answer to number 23 should be 397 thousandths. If you got something different, do we need to talk about it, or do you see why it's 397 thousandths? It says, baseball player has a batting average of 287 thousandths. His on-base percentage is 1/10 greater than his batting average. His slugging percentage is 100th greater than his on-base percentage. What is the player's slugging percentage? So all I want to focus on is this piece right here, where it talks about his slugging percentage is being 100th greater than his on-base percentage. So what do I have to figure out first? I have to figure out his on-base percentage. So I'm going to take his batting average, which is 0 and 287 thousandths. His on-base percentage is 1/10 greater than that. So I'm going to add a 1 to the tenths place, so that becomes 387 thousandths. Now his slugging percentage is 100th bigger than this new number. So I'm going to add 100th, 1 to the hundredths column, and that is how I get this final answer here. Okay,